Thanks, Anthony. So, as I said before, hello, welcome to Damstra Insights. Thank you for your time today. My name is Ruth. I'm a trainer at Damstra Technology, and today I'm going to be showing you insights. So, as I said to Anthony, we are recording today's session, and that will be available for you to watch if you miss any of this content, need a refresher, or for those customers that could not attend this webinar. So you'll see that your microphones are switched off because this is such a big group. But please, if you have any questions, pop them into the chat because I've got some wonderful support people joining that could keep an eye on your questions and answer while I'm presenting. If you have already watched the short overview video by YouTube or our Damstra Academy, then you are well on your way to basic understanding of how to navigate around Damstra Insights. And hopefully you've already created some wonderful dashboards. If you are interested in accessing Damstra Academy for this training videos, then please email service@damstratechnology.com. Attention the training team for action. Prakash or Karina will put that in the email address in the chat for you. So we've got a lot to get through today. I'm going to turn off my camera so you can concentrate on my screen, and let's get started. So Damstra Insights is accessed from Safety via the dashboard module. So I'll click on the dashboard and open up Insights, which opens in a new tab. And for this demo today, I'll be using demo data. So it may look a bit screwy to you, but once you start making things in your own database, it'll start to make sense. The landing page or home page for Insights is the library of dashboards. And there's over 50 standard dashboards already made up for you using visuals from the visual gallery. And those visuals are made up from the sources in Damstra Safety. Or if you have Solo, that also has its own set of dashboards. Over on the right are the tabs for Import Dashboard, which we currently don't use, as we've got a wonderful facility called Share Dashboard. And those Insights creators can add a dashboard. I could search for a dashboard using the search bar, such as events. You'll see that I can favorite some of my favorite dashboards, and they would be in my favorites register. The next icon is any dashboards that I have made and any dashboards shared with me. I can sort my dashboards in order by the data source, by the author, and you'll see all these people here, these authors. That's our wonderful developers team that make our standard dashboards that are shared across everybody. Across here, I've got modified date, and this is always good to check this because you'll see that Damstra support or our developers have made some changes or added a new dashboard called People Trained Register, and they do that all the time. And then, of course, we've got our schedule, and later on in this session, I'll show you how to schedule a dashboard and actions. And you'll see that I can only delete any dashboards that I have made. What I'm going to start off with today is what safety people's favourite dashboard is. It's called the Events Register. And if I open up the Events Register, I'm not sure why I do this, but I seem to do this, kind of like thinking it's going to give it a hurry along or something like that. And you'll see at the top I have what's called a dashboard filter. So for this whole dashboard, I could add a dashboard filter. Over on the right-hand side, I could export my dashboard as a screenshot or a PDF, refresh my dashboard, favorite or unfavorite it, add visuals to my dashboard, or save it as something else. And that's because we can't save over a standard dashboard. It's there for everybody, but we could make changes to it and save it as something else. This group here are also filters. So if I was to search for a full site name, you may notice that not all of your sites in Damstra Safety are here. That's because those sites may not have had an event in the time bar. Just going to grab that one again. And I seem to have lost my time bar. Oh, technology, eh? Won't be a sec, people. There we go. So that's a good lesson for us. If we hide that taskbar down the bottom, that this is what the time bar should look like. Thanks, Paul. Going back to where we were before with this full site name, our filters, our event type, event stage, event status, any required treatment, and all of these filters here. For this demo today, I'm just going to shift my time bar, and I can do that by dragging this across. And you'll see that my goodness me. Technology, Paul. Shifting my time bar, might use from August the 1st, for a year. Apart from shifting my time bar, I can also click on the calendar and use the calendar and the date. Or I could come over here to this calendar and you'll see that I have a static date, but I could also make that a dynamic date by clicking on the condition of now, enable that offset, and I could go -2 years, apply to a dynamic time of now and apply. So that's now -2 years. Or I could use my presets, everything from the current year, year to date, to previous year, previous week, or yesterday, and apply. You will also see that I have my date range for event date. Sometimes you want to report, rather than the event date, the reported date, or the investigation date, or the completed date. but I'll leave it as event date and you'll find that down here. So going to my dashboard, our event registered by event type. And you'll see in this date range, I have 7 injuries. What I can do with this little segment of the donut is left click on it, and I can have a look at the details of those injuries. So if I click on the details, it will open up in a register or a table. And once that is opened up, we have our rows with all of the columns for that event type injury within that date range. I could open that in the table or export that raw data as a CSV, but I'll close that. I can also click on these 3 dots for any of these visuals, and you'll see that the visual I'm working on is surrounded by a blue square. Click on those 3 dots. I can edit that visual, which opens up the menu on the right-hand side. The top is the visual style, and I can easily change that to a pie graph. I could sort my visual, if say it was a bar graph or anything like that, by event type, by the order and the limit. This limit is also very good if you wanted to make a visual, say, top 10 events by category. You could limit it to 10. My time bar is controlled by this time bar down here, and I could add filters to my visual. So if I was to add a filter that the event type was just injury, you'll see here this nest filters. Nest filters, if I was to add a filter that the category name was just laceration, click continue, add another filter that my subject name, and I can just search for cut. I want cut to finger, cut to hand, small cut to finger, and continue. Now I've got my category name includes laceration and my subject name includes cut. Now that's really great for people that don't have drop-down list for their subjects. So I'll go to my nest filters and I'm going to grab that category name and throw it down in my nest filter. And my subject name I'll put there as well. And apply that. So now with our filters, what we've got is the event is within the time bar and the subject name includes the word cut, or the category name includes laceration. And then of course, if I click on these 3 dots, I can delete that nest and delete those filters and apply that. Then we have our settings, and you'll see over here, I've got my label, my values, and my relative values, or my percentages. So I could take off those values and the labels and maybe just have my legend, or I might show my labels, my values. And the next item down the menu is the color palette. And you'll see up here, legend, this bit here, I could turn it on and off, or just leave it off. And I can change the colors for my pie graph like that. So now that I've got my event register, 18 of them, near miss, incident, and injury, what I can also do with this visual, just going to make it a little bit smaller, and I can copy that visual. So if I copy that visual, make that a little bit smaller, and what's so good about this is I could drag it up here, put it next to that one. So now I've got my event registered by event type. This one here, instead of grouping by the event type, I might group that by the treatment required. And of course, being the event register with instance, injuries, and near miss, I'm going to add a filter here that the event type just injury. Continue and apply. And I'll probably change that to a donut. All right. So now that I've made my donut using the data copying this visual, probably want it's unsaved. Probably want to save that as injury by treatment. And save that visual. This one here, event registered by event stage, it says that I've got 18 active here. I probably want to group that by site. So I can just click on that group and change that to the site name. And where did that bar graph go? I'm going to put that back up there. Event registered by a top 5 person. Instead of top 5 person with this bar graph, there's some things I can do with this as well. I'll edit that visual, and it's a bar graph. Visual type is a bar graph. And I'll go to my settings. In my settings, I can enable a subgroup. So when I enable a subgroup, you'll see that my person type is the group and my subgroup is none. So I came over here, I might pop that out actually. I came over here, instead of the person type, I'm going to change that to the person reported. And I want to know, people reported, what event did they report? So I can change that to event type. And it says top 5 person type. So when this reads, I'm only going to get the top 5 people. But I know there's more than 5 people that have reported in my time period. So if I was to go to my sort and fill sort and limit, I'm going to change that event to the top, say 10 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and apply that. So now we see that our events by, we'll call that events by top 10 reporters. It's looking a little bit messy. What I can do with that is go back and edit that visual to my settings and make that a stacked bar chart. Thanks, Paul. I'm going to show those additional colors later on. I think that's a fantastic option. And I'll just pop that right down in there. And now I've got my event by top 10 reporters. So, oh, where did you go? Put you back up in there. So with my safety events register, how it started is now starting to look a little bit more about how I want my dashboard to look. Let's go down to this register. And you'll see that my event register is by event ID, my event date, and all the columns in my register. I could sort by event date or event ID just by clicking on event date. And now that's in order. With this column here, event status or site name or location, any of these columns, I could also click on the three dots and I could remove any of these here. So if I want to remove location, that's shot away. But what I'm going to do is edit this visual. I'll go to my settings, and from here, I could start moving the columns from here. Don't want those. No, don't want that. Investigation status. Oh, that one. I could start removing the columns here and apply that. The other thing I can do with this, I'm going to shoot it over here. I'm going to copy my register just to appear in here. With this register here, with that event date, I'm actually going to shift these columns. I want my event type first, and then by site. But with this event date, I'm going to shoot it up here to the edit groups. And my event date, I want it by month, and I could include the blanks if I want, but I'll just include it, the granularity by the month with the event date. And apply that one. I'll pop that out so you can have a closer look at that one. So now I have my event date grouped by months. And if I opened any of these up, I could see the months for that date, for the events for that month. With this one, what I'm going to do is edit that visual, and I'm going to change it to a heat map. And with this heat map, I'm going to make these rows treatment required, the columns, might put them by, say, subject or category. And this color, I'm going to change the color instead of the volume. I want it to be the, scroll that down a bit, by the treatment required and count them. So scrolling down to my register, take off that legend, move it up a bit. So now I have my heat map with my first aid hospitalization, and we can see that with vehicles, no treatment, that's really good. First aid by contusion, and this is our columns here. I edit that visual, go to my settings, and show the values, or not show the values, and change the colors. So this color here with 1 might make that a nice pink and leave that as green. So now I'm starting to use this standard dashboard to make my own dashboard. Sometimes with with these dashboards, we have our standard dashboards and we go, well, actually, I've seen a really cool visual from another dashboard. It's a great visual, so I'm going to write that down. With the safety events register, I'm going to place an existing visual that I know from another dashboard. And I'm going to use what's called the visual corrective action register summary. Again, another heat map. And I'll shoot that down the bottom. So this is my corrective action register summary with my corrective actions completed, overdue 90 days. And you may have noticed that as I added that visual from a different source, event date has popped up in all my other visuals. 1st of August to July the 31st, except for this visual. That's because that's the visual timeline in the dashboard. So let's fix that visual. I'll go to my filters. I'm going to add a filter that the action is a dynamic from now. Might just make that one minus 2 years. To now. And continue. The other way I could do that is with this visual here. I can also shift this timeline. To make that August. And I can leave that like that. And then I'm just going to copy that visual over here and change the rows to the responsible person. So that one there is called and I'll save that. Want to save that visual? Yes. And that has been saved. So now with my safety events register, I've pretty much got everything I wanted in it from these visuals. And you'll see that over on the right-hand side, I can only save as. So if I wanted to save my register, what I'm going to do, bear with me here, I'm going to remove these filters. I don't really want them. I'm all sorted now. I've added my own filters. All right, so there's my safety events register, all the things that I have in it, my responsible people, it's all sorted, completed. So with this safety events register, I'm going to save as my annual report. Do I want to create copies for the visuals? No, I don't think that. I'm pretty sure I've renamed and saved everything. I don't need to do that. And I'm going to save. Oh, the following visuals are removed. Event register. Oh. No, cancel that. Where's my event register? Oh, there it is there, unsaved. So that one is injury by treatment. Good prompt there. Save that. Yep, I want to save that visual. Right, back up the top. Save my dashboard as my annual report. So my annual report has been saved. Now, if I go back to my library, we'll see that my annual report was made by me today. I'll make that my favorite. So that's not a bad dashboard, my annual report. And I think that Tim Copperfield, my 2IC, would like my dashboard. So what I'm going to do is share my dashboard. And if I click on share dashboard, only the dashboards that I have authored are going to turn up as what I can share. That's because all of these other dashboards are shared anyway. So my annual report, I'm going to share that dashboard. This is me with my dashboard. I'm going to add a user, and my user is going to be Tim Copperfield. I'll apply that. So Tim's my 2IC. Can he read it and write to it, delete it? Probably he can read it and he can edit it, but I don't really want him to delete that. So I'll save that, update the sharing, yes. Permissions have been updated. Now that I've shared my dashboard, I'm going to schedule my dashboard. So with my dashboard, I'm going to schedule my dashboard, and I've shared it with Tim. So I'm going to create a new schedule. My annual report can format it as a PDF or PNG. I could send the report to myself. But what I'm going to do is search for Tim. And I think actually the CFO, Samantha, might like that as well. And I'm going to schedule that monthly on the 5th of the month from next week for the next 2 months, and save that. So you'll notice while I was sharing that report and while I was creating that report, I didn't have any site filters. That's because when I'm sharing or scheduling that report, the scheduling of it for their end result, their PDF, are only going to show them the events that they've got access to based on their Damstra Safety profile. So Tim might have Christchurch, Samantha might have Auckland. You'll also notice that I have scheduled that report to Samantha, but I haven't shared it. So what I'm going to do is just go back and share that dashboard, my annual report, share that dashboard, and I'm going to add another user, Samantha, and I just want her to be able to read it. So that's a little bit about scheduling and sharing reports. I can also share a visual. If I go to my visual gallery, and here's a visual, I'll share that visual in exactly the same way. My hazard, I'm going to search for hazard. Share my visual, add a user, and apply. Right, going back to my library, and I go down to, I see that that someone's asked, is it possible to share the report as an Excel file? And Paul's answered that. Not sure if I covered that before. I'm just going to go back to this events register, just in case I haven't covered it. Shoot back down to that events register or that table. With any register or the visual is called table, I could export that as a screenshot, a PDF, or the raw data, or the visual data. Whereas with my visuals, I can only export them as screenshots or PDFs, or other than that visual, I could export that raw data as well, which would be the event register by event type, this register here. So we've covered the events register and making your own dashboard. What I want to talk to you about now is making your own dashboard. And within making your own dashboard, I've had a look at some business intelligence yellowfin reports, and most of it is demo data, including events, vault check, licenses, risk and training. So let's have a look at some BI graphs or their visuals that we're still producing for our board reports. And you'll see here my number of injuries is in a stacked bar chart. Incident profile by site, incident severity. Here's some lovely pie charts and some sort of TRIFR, LTO5 frequency rate. What else have we got? Oh, goodness me, the corrective action traffic lights. Who could forget them, the old traffic lights? But if you like traffic lights, we can make traffic lights. Calendar that didn't quite work. Training percentage. Stacked bar chart. And what else have we got here? The old digital clock with current events, our total events. Our traffic light with the events not started, underway and completed. This is a table and a stacked bar chart. Traffic lights are popular, Lizzie. I'll show you how to make a traffic light in Insights. So these are the old BI graphs, and to me they look a little bit clip arty. So let's go ahead and make our own dashboard. I'm going to add a dashboard and add a visual. And the visual for this one, I'm going to choose the visual source being the injury. Oh, no, I know where it is. I'm going to place an existing visual. Called injuries register event details. And while that's reading, scroll it over here, but my event details, event ID, type of event. So it's come from the injuries register, but my type of event is all of them. I'm going to add a filter to that. Add my filter that the type of event is injury and apply that one. Here's my injuries, and as I scroll along here, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't seem to be able to find an event date in there. So well, let's go and find it. I'm going to edit that visual. Go down to my settings. Event ID, no event date there. I'll have a look to see if it's there anyway. Click on edit columns. I'll look at that event date. It was there all along. So now I've added my event date. And again, I'm going to grab my event date. Shoot it up into the groups by the month and apply that. And from here, I'll make that a bar chart. Go to my settings. We'll make that horizontal. Enable that subgroup and click on the values. I've probably done too much on this one, but that's how we'd do it. Let me go back to my library. And you remember those BI reports. What I'm going to do is add a dashboard. And here's something I prepared earlier. Remember that injury by body location? My injury severity? What else have I got here? Incident by site. You can shoot up there. Starting to recreate these BI reports. What else have we got? Injury by treatment. That wasn't a bad one. Placing my visuals. Oh, here's our little circles, our hazard circles. We might put them on another row. And that was really easy to do with this hazard risk status, underway, not started, completed. Then I copy that visual and I group it by something else. What did I group it by? Whether it was a significant risk or not. That was one of those circles that we reported on. And of course, our hazard risk category. A. Yeah, go down there like that then. Right. What else we got here? This is for you, Lizzie. You're going to love this one, Lizzie. There's your traffic light impact bubbles with completed, not started, and underway. Couldn't do that in BI. And if anything else, Lizzie, I hope you had a smile over that one. What else we got here? People trained. There's our people trained. You'll remember that little donut with the people trained, or it's actually a pie graph. Oh, here's a donut, people trained. Register. I think that was my last one there that I did, corrective action by person. So now I've made my own dashboard, recreating what I saw before in BI. And I can also change these around. I'll edit that visual. I'll go to my settings, I'll make that vertical, make it a clustered bar chart. This one here, change that to a donut. Oh, sorry, a pie graph. And I've made my visual here, all in one dashboard. So I'll save my dashboard as my examples. And it says the following visuals have unsaved changes. I can just click there and save that. Injuries by hours worked. Cam, I've seen that in BI. I haven't found that to make that for you today, but I'm pretty sure that the injury date also has an injury time, but I can go back and ask Paul about that as well. I'll go back to my library. Something I prepared earlier, just what I showed you before. Lizzie's packed bubbles, our severity, profile by site, not sure if we covered that before. There's our dashboards. And of course, I could schedule those dashboards or share them. So the only thing I didn't cover for those BI reports was the LTIFR, TRIFR, FAFR, all injury frequency report and LTIs. But I'm not sure if you've seen this new one. This is a brand new report that Paul and his team has worked really hard on. It's quite a big report. I'll just reduce that down a bit to show you. And instead of messing around with your combo charts, with your bar charts and your line graphs, Paul and his team have made all this for you. We scroll up to the top. In our KPI hours, if we added hours per site, all the way down to the level 3 site, down to the level 3 site, then you could have this by site. So we have our lost time injuries by month, last month, and our 12 months rolling financial, our trippers, all injuries, FAFers, MTIs, and this is where the magic happens. Down here, here's our trends for our KPIs. Make that a bit bigger for you. With our rolling 12-month LTIFR, our TRIFR, and of course, if we didn't want our trend line here or our rolling, we can untick them. And export that visual as a PDF or a screenshot. Same with this one down here with our trends for our all injury and our first aid injuries. We can see our trend, can hover over them. Look at the details of that first aid injury or the sum of the injury, all 5 of them, which would open up in a new table. The other really cool dashboard that has just been made is this licenses dashboard. And I thought this was really cool how Paul and the team Not only did he tell you in his licenses, still don't know why I do this, but it just feels good. If I shoot down here to the license register details, it'll tell me my people and what licenses they have. We've got our site, person type, active, when our license expires, license statuses, and our license details. What's really cool at the bottom here, the team have made a register with people with no licenses. And when we talk about our training, and I've just searched for train, we have a training course register, a people train register, and a scheduled train register. Last thing I want to cover about is compliance. So if I go compliance, we have a compliance register, workplace exams, and this completed vault checks or audits. Remember, this is demo data. It isn't going to be perfect. You're going to have much more in here. But this is the sorted by the year, how many checks we've completed. By volume, by the template type. We could also change that to the site name. Remember, just as I showed you with the events register, we can copy these and have them grouped by whatever we want. And this is what's called a pivot table. I'm thinking, looking through some of your customer BI reports, that this pivot table is probably what you want to match some of your registers that you export. So over the next month, Paul and the team and I are going to be looking at pivot tables and seeing how we can make this more useful for some of the reports that you're exporting. I think that a lot of people would be asking for this total columns as well, and the inspections by sum. So everything is possible here. If you had your template types and your template names, it's all possible. You could have all your inspections in a row with the total amount there. So I'll just head back to the library. And got 5 minutes left in the meeting, just ended up on time. Apart from the questions that I know the customers are asking and Paul's busy answering them, is there anything in there that you wanted to see again or that I can't answer personally after this webinar? Just go through these questions. I think Paul's done a great job. Lizzie, what did you think of my insights traffic lights? Sure, I can work on them more. Oh, great, Lizzie. I'd love to see it. Thank you. Did I show you to change the colours? I did. Oh, we can get together again later. All right, people, if there's no more questions, I will leave the chat open for a while, just in case you ask any more questions. But I really appreciate your time today sharing your insights. Over the next few months, I'll be learning more, we'll be developing more, and I'll be doing more webinars. It's great to see you all again, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.